The courtroom was silent. No barking, no movement, just a dog sitting perfectly still beside the defense table. People whispered, cameras clicked. Even the judge noticed him. He didn't flinch when lawyers argued. He didn't react when the verdict papers were placed on the desk. But when the judge finally read one single line out loud, the dog stood up. What happened next stopped the entire courtroom and changed a decision that no one thought could be changed. Because the dog wasn't just listening, he was waiting. No, one expected the dog to be allowed inside the courtroom. But there he was, sitting calmly on the polished wooden floor, leash loose, head up, eyes forward. A golden retriever with a graying muzzle, as if he understood exactly where he was. His name was Max. The case was supposed to be simple: State versus Daniel Brooks. Daniel stood accused of armed robbery. Surveillance footage placed him near the scene. A witness had identified him. The prosecution wanted a fast conviction. But Daniel hadn't spoken much since his arrest. He barely slept, barely ate. The only thing that seemed to ground him was Max. Max had been Daniel's service dog for 8 years, trained after Daniel returned from military service with severe PTSD. When panic attacks hit, Max would press against him. When nightmares came, Max woke him gently. On the night of the robbery, Daniel said he'd been at home. With Max. But dogs don't testify, at least. That's what everyone believed. Judge Eleanor Whitman adjusted her glasses as the courtroom settled. "Proceed," she said. The prosecutor paced confidently. "Ladies and gentlemen, the evidence is clear. The defendant was identified near the scene. The timeline matches. The motive is irrelevant." Daniel stared at the table. Max stayed still. The defense attorney, Mr. Keller, stood next. "Your Honor, the prosecution wants to ignore one crucial fact," he said. "My client suffers from severe PTSD. On the night in question, he experienced a documented episode. His service dog was with him the entire time." The prosecutor scoffed. "A dog is not an alibi." A few people chuckled quietly. Max didn't move. The defense called witnesses, neighbors, a therapist, even Daniel's sister, but none could provide absolute proof of Daniel's location at the exact time of the robbery. The judge listened carefully then. She looked down at the file in front of her. "Bring in the final statement," she said. The courtroom grew. Tense. Judge Whitman began to read. "According to the security footage," she said slowly, "the suspect fled on foot at 9:42 p.m. Max's ears twitched, but he stayed seated. The prosecution asserts the defendant was present at that location. Still, nothing. Then the judge reached the last page. "One additional line has been added to the record," she said. "From emergency medical services." The room went quiet. At 9:39 p.m., the judge read aloud. An emergency call was placed from the defendant's residence, reporting a severe PTSD episode requiring assistance. The moment the words left her mouth, Max stood up. Gasps rippled through the courtroom. Max walked forward, calmly, confidently, and placed his head against Daniel's shaking knee. Daniel broke. He buried his face in Max's fur, shoulders shaking as tears fell. The judge froze. The prosecutor said nothing. The defense attorney swallowed. Hard. Judge Whitman looked down again. "The EMS report continues," she said. "Upon arrival, responders noted the presence of a service dog, actively performing grounding behavior." She paused. "The dog's body camera footage confirms this." All eyes snapped to Max. The footage played on the screen. There was Daniel on the floor, hyperventilating, and Max pressed against his chest. "Steady UNMOV ABL LEAD.TIMESTAMP 940 P.M. Impossible for Daniel to be at the crime scene 2 minutes later." The prosecutor's face drained of color. Judge Whitman leaned back. "The court finds the defendant not guilty." The gavel struck. Daniel collapsed into his chair. Sobbing openly, Max sat back down beside him. Job done. Later. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. Did the dog really save you? One asked. Daniel knelt and hugged Max tightly. He's always saved me, he said. Judge Whitman watched from the steps. She later admitted to her clerk, I've seen many kinds of evidence, but loyalty like that doesn't lie. That night, Daniel slept peacefully for the first time in months. Max stayed by his side, silent, faithful, listening, just like he did in court. If this story moved you, remember, this justice isn't always about words. Sometimes it's about presence, loyalty, and truth that doesn't need to speak. Like this video to honor service dogs who protect in ways we can't see. Subscribe for more emotional, viral dog stories that restore faith in humanity. Comment below. Should animals be recognized as witnesses in cases like this? Every interaction helps these stories reach more people because heroes like Max deserve to be remembered.